Hey all you cool cats and kittens! The first time I was ever exposed to Doki Doki Literature Club was sometime in 2022 when I was really into indie horror but too much of a scaredy cat, get it? Cat? to actually play them. So I watched a game theory about it, which was age restricted, but I was like, I gotta watch the first one! So I stole my dad's phone to watch it. Great video! This is also an old script. I started it in February, took a break for whatever reason, and I'm continuing it now in November. This will also not include content from Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, because I haven't played it. I think that genuinely DDLC is a game that would make me cry if I played it all in one go. There were times I laughed, stared, contemplated my existence, sighed, regretted, cringed. It sure was a game. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, hence the title. I didn't start out liking Monica. Yeah, I started the game in the firm belief that none of these girls were cute or likable. I will admit they grew on me though, some more than others. In my original opinion, Sayori was the choice. Sayori was the one who I wanted to date? Court? What's it called in this game? As the game went on, I realized that Natsuki was also a viable option. Yuri was, and still is, not. There were some moments in the game where she was likable, I guess. But it turned out that in the end, she was too obsessive and creepy for my tastes. Monica had the biggest reputation, in my opinion. My only precursor of information for the game before I played it was the game theory. You are an anime protagonist. Your best friend is adorable, and you've known her since childhood. For some strange reason, you can't say no to anything she asks you. So when she asks you to join the school literature club, you agree, even if it's just for cupcakes. You find out that she's the vice president of the club, something she wouldn't have done on her own, which surprises you. The president is a girl named Monica, who at first is really normal, likable, and not romanceable. That's possibly the weirdest part of all of this. Yuri and Natsuki are the other two members, and polar opposites of each other. Yuri is tall, calm, and quiet. Natsuki is short, angry, and loud. Somehow their dynamic works though because they seem to be pretty good friends. Suddenly, you realize that the literature club is full of, and these are not my words, incredibly cute girls. Every day you are tasked with writing a poem that you never get to see, which is probably my biggest pet peeve about the entire game. I wrote a supposed poem. Give me my poem! The day after, you share the poem with all 4 girls, and depending on what words you choose, a specific girl might like you more. You choose the girl, you choose the words. The cycle repeats every day until the day before the festival, when the story really starts to pick up. The literature club needs help with the preparations, and you are invited to either bake cupcakes with Natsuki or make posters and stuff with Yuri. Whoever you choose, you have a grand old time with them, and then you send them home and go and see your dear old friend Sayori. She confides in you that she's been having a rough time and has had depression since she was young. You either friend-zone her, or tell her you love her, and then leave. The next morning, you bring whatever you made with either Yuri or Natsuki back to school, when Monica then asks where Sayori is. This is probably my favorite scene in the entire game because, oh my gosh. When Monica says, "You really left her hanging, didn't you?" My jaw dropped. Here's a live recreation of my exact reaction when this happened. You dash to Sayori's house, find her dead, where the game then ends with a few statements of your raw grief. The game main menu then restarts, and instead of the normal main menu, Sayori is replaced with a pixelated amalgamation of all the other characters. The game starts out the same, roughly, except without Sayori. Whatever Sayori did in Act 1, Monica does. Yuri is now the vice president, and Natsuki is Natsuki. You bring up Sayori a couple of times, but every time the girls insist they've never known anyone by that name. The day ends with the poem minigame, excluding the words that appeal to Sayori, and the next day after sharing poems, you read a book with Natsuki, but she glitches out and comes back when Monica gives her food. This is when you find out that Natsuki has a tough home life situation. Yuri gets mad, really mad, that you were spending time with Natsuki instead of her, and so she becomes obsessive. She also self-harms quite a bit, and after Monica steals you away again, Yuri snaps. She stabs herself in the stomach after confessing her love for you, whether you accept it or not, and you're so shocked, but really because of the game's broken script, that you stay there with her dead body for the entire weekend. Now, there are 56 lines of text during this, but it can be skipped and kept to a minimum if you want to really skip it. After the script resets, Natsuki bursts in and upon seeing Yuri dead, runs out and probably throws up. I don't blame her. I was kind of nauseous after I saw this for the first time too. Monika comes back in and apologizes for your boring weekend. After that, she deletes Yuri and Natsuki's game files from the game. When you start a new game file, you're thrown into a cosmic floating classroom, sitting at a desk across from Monika. She reveals that she is self-aware! Who would have thunk it? She confesses her love for you, but not the protagonist, the character you play. No, she confesses her love for you, the player, because you're real and can make your own choices, not programmed like her. After that, she just yaps. Like, a lot. Like, forever. To beat the game, you go in the files and delete Monika's .chr file, or character file, which is not a real file name, by the way. She yells at you for a bit, then restores the game back to where it was. It immediately starts itself. Sayori is the new leader of the literature club. Actually, sound guy, it's not a yay. Sayori starts to adopt the mean and bad traits that Monika had in the first place. Monika's like, this won't do, so she deletes the entire game. While the credits roll, Monika plays a song she wrote for you. Wowee! Monika wrote you a song. If you aren't smitten, you should be now. Now that's the main ending, the bad-ish ending, the one that everyone gets on their first playthrough. If you delete Monika before starting the game, Sayori becomes the leader and she panics and deletes the game. If you wait 10 minutes on that ending screen, it says, now everyone can be happy. The good ending, which you actually have to put in work for, requires saving a whole bunch and spending equal time and writing equal poems for all the girls. Sayori thanks you for being there for them and reveals that now she's president, she's self-aware. She basically says, you really saved and loaded so that you could spend time with everybody. How honorable. Only someone who truly cares would do that. She tells you all the girls love you and that you should come visit and she'll miss you, and then the game ends. Monika plays your reality again, but after the credits you get a special note from Dan Salvato thanking you for taking the time to achieve full completion of the game. Well, now that we've got a summary, let's talk about DDLC. I first played this game a little bit blind, as I said before. There were a few things that fated me to play the game. Number one, I had recently downloaded Steam, and being a broke kid, I was scrolling through the free games and saw Doki Doki Literature Club. Number two, I had decided to start streaming on Twitch, and I needed games to play. Number three, my For You page had refreshed, and I saw the Game Theory video again. I decided, why not? And for a week straight, every day I would play and stream an hour of Doki Doki Literature Club. I never got more than 4 viewers at a time, but that is the reason for one of my fans, Eltronics or Pixeltronics. I've mentioned them before, I think. They always chatted and kind of encouraged me to keep playing, even through, like, the 4 hours of absolute nothing in terms of gameplay, so yeah. Big fan of Eltronics. Dan Salvato, the creator of DDLC, worked on it for 2 whole years before it was published, and it basically kickstarted his career. He said he was inspired by things that are scary because they make you uncomfortable, not because they shove scary-looking things in your face. Salvato developed the facade of a cute setting, and it broke down over time with the behavior of the characters. Honestly, I think the premise of DDLC is crazy interesting, and it leaves me with a lot of questions. As a concept, I like the self-aware video game trope. I think it's a cool thing to think about, that characters are doomed to the narrative of their game with no free will other than the script they've been given. I think that's also very scary, and it gives me quite a bit of sympathy for the characters. DDLC is a Western game, despite the Japanese names of the characters and use of manga as a plot device. Monika, in fact, has the only American name in the game, which is sort of a clue to the fact that she's not like other girls. Also, I'd like to note that I got some of my script references from the Doki Doki Literature Club Wikipedia page, and this part is actually sending me. Because Salvato lacked artistic skill. They didn't have to dog on him like that. This guy can't do any art. Get a load of this guy. However good he is at drawing stuff, he did compose all of DDLC's soundtrack. Something interesting that I think is a great touch is that every member has an instrument that corresponds to them. Monika's is a piano, Sayori is the ukulele, Yuri is harps, and Natsuki is recorder. DDLC got raving reviews, millions of downloads, playthroughs from various YouTubers, including hit YouTuber Chili the Cat. Go and watch my playthrough on the VODs channel, link in the description. So now I've gone over the basics, it's time for my review. I really like Doki Doki Literature Club. It's cute, has a lot of stuff to figure out, and it really makes you think. You have to play it with purpose to get the good ending. I like visual novels because of the choices you can make. Because your choices matter. In DDLC, your choices don't matter. At least not the important ones. Whether you confess to Sayori or friendzone her, you still find her dead the next day. Whatever you do when Yuri confesses to you, she still ends up dead. Everything you do in Doki Doki Literature Club should matter. It's a visual novel where everyone dies throughout the game. There should be a way to save them. And, I mean, there is, but that's so much work. Point is, the game gears you up for something that's framed as a really important choice, but regardless of what you choose to do, it doesn't matter. Sayori dies. Yuri dies. That's one of the problems I have with this game, although in total, I don't have very many. Your choices don't matter, and you never get to see the poems you write. To be fair, it is a game. The game centers around the 4 girls in the literature club and not your player character. Although, if they're all head over heels for us or whatever, I would think they'd put a bit more effort into our choices and writings. Like I said, my thoughts on this game are absolutely more positive than negative. It's one of my favorite games that I've played on stream, and in general, it really fundamentally changed how I think about video games. It wrecks you, in a good way. You get attached to these characters, and when you find out what they're going through, you feel for them. It's devastating when these characters die because you've grown to care for them. That's why it's so special when you get the good ending. You spent so much time with these characters, and it pays off. DDLC is so much more than a game. It's a story with a message, and it's incredibly meta. To delete Monika, you have to physically go into the game's files. Speaking of Monika, and this is something else I think goes crazy about Doki Doki Literature Club, Monika is the only character who faces you. The others always mostly avoid eye contact, and they sort of tilt away from you in body language. In Yuri's case, it's because she's shy. For Natsuki, it's because of her tsundere tendencies. For Sayori, actually, I don't really know. That's not the end of the general inconsistencies with Monika. From the beginning, she's always the odd one out. She's the only non-romanceable character, the only one with no poem words that correspond to her. She breaks character even in the game's description, something she points out in the actual game. Monika's entire shtick is that she's different. The poem words, the words you pick to make a poem at the end of each in-game day, are probably the biggest indicator that something is wrong. Words like death, misery, words that you'd think would be for Yuri are actually Sayori's character words. Her depression is foreshadowed, and from the beginning, she's written to be bittersweet. She's always late to walk with you to school because it's hard for her to get out of bed in the morning. Something we as the player don't piece together until much later. Sayori is always searching for validation, keeping a happy front, and making others happy at the cost of her own happiness. Something we see in a poem she writes. She doesn't really write it, but it's representative of her as a person. The storytelling in Doki Doki Literature Club is immaculate. Usually characters of anime dating games like this are shallow. Their only characteristic is liking the protagonist, but all of the girls are interesting, even the ones you might dislike. All of the characters are stereotypes. Monika is the yandere, Natsuki is the tsundere, Sayori is the childhood friend, and Yuri is the shy girl. They have actual interests outside of just being stereotypes as well. Yuri really likes horror, Natsuki likes manga, Sayori loves learning about other people and their interests, and Monika is just Monika. Just Monika, just Monika, just Monika, just Monika. Aside from the base game, there's so much official content to explore. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus has the base game, and 6 new side stories that expand on all the girls and their personalities. There's soundtracks for Plus and the base game, all bangers by the way, and there are more than 100 wallpapers and pictures to unlock. I cannot recommend Doki Doki Literature Club enough, and my summary does it no justice. If you enjoyed this video and you think you might like DDLC, support the devs and download the game. It's free on Steam for Windows and Mac, and if you end up really enjoying it, there's a bunch of official Doki Doki Literature Club merchandise. Consider dropping a like on this video, maybe even a subscribe. And that's all from me, and as always...